was female.
Freeze! Nobody move!
She was super bossy.
Give me some pies! Give me some of the good pies!
That's your finger there.
I wouldn't get sassy.
You're a fugitive from justice.
I'm like a Cheeto. You can't eat just one.
Look out, fish!
Lay's potato chips.
No, not for me. I love a Cheeto.
Tammy.
Just throw the money through the window and we'll get out of here.
I'm unrobbing you! I'm giving it back!
We're gonna need more pies!
Rated R. July.
Do I really need to say anything else about this one? Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up 4th of July weekend 2014. And sadly, the biggest of the new releases was Tammy. A movie that was directed and co-written by Melissa McCarthy's husband, Ben Falcone, in his directorial debut. And essentially, it was the film that kind of killed the buzz of a Melissa McCarthy movie that turns out to be really good. Because, yeah, after... the successes that she had with Bridesmaids and Identity Thief and The Heat, this was the one that really was the one that broke the camel's back. And it's just like, yeah, it's going to be a hit probably, but it ain't going to be a good movie, because that's for damn certain here. You have a woman named Tammy, played by Melissa McCarthy, who hits the road with her profane, alcoholic grandmother, played by Susan Sarandon, after she finds out that her husband, Nat Faxon, is cheating on her. We also have a cast that includes Allison Janney, Gary Cole, Mark Duplass, Toni Collette, Sandra Oh, Dan Aykroyd, Kathy Bates. A solid cast all across the board. It's produced by Will Ferrell and Adam McKay. Usually they produce some good stuff, but yeah, this one, not so much. It's about as bad as every bad Melissa McCarthy movie as you can get. It's always a movie about her being fat, and that's the way the comedy is going to be. It's just like, oh, she's bumbling, she's clumsy, she's going to roll around all over the place, and it's supposed to be funny. No, it's not funny at all. It's just not funny. Like, here's the thing. When people like Chris Farley did that for Tommy Boy and Black Sheep, that was funny. And Beverly Hills Ninja, too. That was funny stuff, because Chris Farley knew what he was doing. The jokes were not completely... not every joke was centered around the fact that this guy is fat or obese or he's clumsy. When it does work on that, it was usually very funny. Here's what happens when you take that and just make it obnoxiously unfunny. Like, this is the movie that's made by people who think that everything they do is going to be funny, and it's just not. There's nothing hilarious about this movie whatsoever. There's nothing hilarious about watching Melissa McCarthy doing the stuff she does here. And I like Melissa McCarthy. I don't think she's as bad as everyone makes her out to be. She can be very funny. She can be a good actress. And, yeah, this one was just kind of like, let's just make the comedy on the fact that she's fat, she's oblivious, she's a nutcase, she's clumsy, she's wacky, and that'll be the crux of our comedy. And it just, you can't do it with stuff like this. You just can't do it with a film like this. And the results speak for themselves here. It's just a lousy film. It's not funny. It's just simply not funny. Nothing is funny about watching this woman bumbling around for 90 minutes and just because you're an R-rated movie, you throw in curse words or some gross out humor. Just like, it doesn't make it funny. You need to have a point to your existence. It just doesn't work, man. It's a bad film. It's a lazy film. It's not funny whatsoever. And with this and Identity Thief, it really killed the Melissa McCarthy buzz. And it just really was not funny overall. But luckily, McCarthy will get back on track next year with a much better movie from the director of The Heat's called Spy. But we'll touch on that in the summer of 2015. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which I'll be perfectly honest with you, I really had no idea what this movie was. I do remember it came out back in the day, but I just remember nothing about it. Eric Bana, and I think that's Olivia Munn, starring in the horror film Deliver Us from Evil.
Daddy go to church with us?
Your daddy used to go. See, I heard scratching noises under the floor in our room.
Scratching noises. Something's happening all over the city.
Man, what's wrong with you? Why'd you do that to your kid?
We having scenes from evil.
Let me show you. Mommy.
Deliver Us from Evil. Rated R.
Yeah, I remember nothing about this movie. I remember that it existed. I remember that it came out in the middle of summertime. I honestly had no idea it was directed by Scott Derrickson until I literally looked up on Wikipedia and saw his name attached to it. Just like, oh, he directed this movie, so maybe it's got a shot at being good, but Yeah, I don't remember a lot about this movie, but you have a New York police officer played by Eric Bana struggling with his own personal issues, and he begins to investigate a series of disturbing and inexplicable crimes. Joins forces with an unconventional priest played by Edgar Ramirez, who's schooled in the rituals of exorcism to combat the frightening and demonic possessions that are terrorizing the city. Based upon the book, which details Sarchi's, Eric Bana's bone-chilling real-life cases. So on the one hand, it looks pretty cool. I mean, the atmosphere is pretty good overall. But other than that, though, this really does not look like anything we haven't seen done before in other movies. I mean, really, when you look at all the stuff we saw in that one trailer alone, did a lot of that seem very familiar to you? Because I certainly saw a lot of familiarity to it. Like, you know, all these whole things. It's just like, let's do creepy things with the children and all that. Let's do creepy things with the toys. Let's have scratching and weird noises and all that. Let's make Eric Bana somebody who doesn't put his faith in religion. So is it supposed to be a religious horror movie too? Like, you know, it just... So much is going on in this. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense overall, but... I don't remember very much about it, so honestly, I can't really say if it's a good movie or not. I really don't remember a whole lot about this film, and that's probably not a good sign for a movie directed by the same guy who's made some really good horror movies. I mean, The Exorcism of Emily Rose was very atmospheric and very creative, even though it tried to do too much. Sinister was a great movie. You know, the Black Phone movies are great, but this just feels like it's A, giving you way too much of stuff, and B, giving you way too much of stuff you've seen done before in many other movies. It feels so confusing and all that, and I just don't think it really worked in general, as far as I remember it. But, again, it has been so long since I've seen this, so I can't even tell you really if this is a good movie or not. So, I wish I could have given you more information, but sorry, that's the best I can do for you here. That's Deliver Us from Evil. Make up your mind on whether you should see it or not. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. And that is, well, I know we've seen this done before. Well, maybe I'm getting too far here. I mean, just take a look at this wonderful trailer for Earth to Echo that is so original and so creative that does not remind you at all of one of the biggest movies of all time, right? Right?
There's something in there. I'm talking about this. It's garbage. Whoa, is that an alien?
Now,
It's trembling like it's hurt.
Can we fix you?
it takes heart.
Guys, we're all he's got.
It takes courage.
Don't worry, we'll get you home. I think he's getting better.
It takes believing
Echo, we need your help.
to do the impossible.
We know now that we can do anything.
Earth to Echo.
Did no one just see the giant spaceship?
Rated PG. Now in theaters.
I mean, I can't believe somebody would be that desperate to remake Maccabee. I mean, where's the kid in the wheelchair? I mean, it's literally the same movie, am I right? Where's the McDonald's tie-in? I'm not even going to waste my time on this joke. You know that this is a ripoff of E.T., and the film isn't even hiding it. But not only is it a ripoff of E.T., the filmmakers are aware of that, but we're not only going to rip off that, we're going to rip off The Goonies, we're going to rip off Stand By Me, hell, we're going to rip off modern movies. Did you see how much money Chronicle made at the box office? Of course we're going to modernize this and do absolutely nothing new that you haven't seen done before. So in this movie, you have four neighborhood friends who find a robotic telekinetic alien in the desert, and are soon hunted by a dangerous force who seeks to take the alien, who the kids name Echo, for themselves. The film is shot in a found footage style from many perspectives, including through a handheld camera, smartphone cameras, and the robot's eyes. So, something you have to keep in mind about this movie is that this was originally supposed to be a Disney release. It was developed and produced by Disney under the leadership of the head of the company, Rich Ross, but then Disney sold the distribution rights over to Relativity Media, who put this movie out, and they released the film. And it made money, I guess, but come on, man. I mean, did you see it, what we just saw? This is nothing but a ripoff of not only E.T., not only The Goonies, not only Stand By Me, not only Chronicle. This is Short Circuit. Like, this movie, this is a prime example of what happens when you try to create a new, daring sci-fi original concept and just do nothing but rip off another more successful project. I mean, we saw that earlier in the year with Transcendence. We're going to see it later in the month with Lucy. But I guess in this case, this is definitely the better of those three films. But, I mean, there's nothing about this movie that's interesting whatsoever. This is directed by Dave Green, by the way. And, of course, at least his career after this will definitely be a lot better. He did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, which I thought was really good. And he's given us this summer's Coyote vs. Acme. So we're all looking forward to that. So, I mean, it's not his fault, really, that the movie is bad. It's just a script that's been done to death before. There's nothing about it that's new or interesting. The robot isn't even that impressive to look at. It's just kind of a generic-ass robot. I mean, it's just not a good movie. It's just not an enjoyable film. It's just really kind of boring. And again, it's another E.T. clone. And after 30 years when the time this was coming out, over 30 years of movies since E.T., people stopped making the E.T. clones back in the late 80s, and here's a studio that's trying to do the same thing all over again. It just doesn't work. It just didn't work in this case here. So yeah, we're 0 for 3 on movies this weekend so far, but we are going to end it on a high note here. We definitely are going to end it on a high note, because this one is just a great film overall. It's the Roger Ebert documentary based off of his book, Life Itself.
Let's move on to a movie now that's one of the most brilliant, weird, and unusual American documentary films I've seen in a long time.
Roger Ebert was the definitive mainstream film critic in American cinema. He has been writing for half of the history of feature films. Roger was a mature writer early on.
He's written over a dozen books.
He wrote a novel.
He won a Pulitzer Prize.
How on earth did Roger Ebert write Beyond the Valley of the Dolls?
Boobs.
Beyond the Valley. You know, this is a title.
Roger was a good addition, but he also could take it.
He is a nice guy, but he's not that nice.
It's Thriller Week on Siskel and Ebert in the movies, and we've got 3 new ones. Sound a little excited, Gene. Sound less excited, Roger.
Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel were the most powerful critics of all time.
The perfect matching of opposites.
Even though Roger wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, Gene lived the life.
These were towering figures clashing. It was, I'm going to crush you.
You give Benji the Hunted a positive review.
That's totally unfair, because you realize
They almost didn't care what anyone else thought, as long as they could try to persuade the other.
This morning I confess that I am a sick person. 3 years ago, I felt a lump under my chin, and it turned out to be cancer.
Roger had an inner core made of steel.
You want to rest a little bit or work a little bit?
Ask Steve. He's the director.
He is a soldier of cinema who cannot even speak anymore, and he plows on, and that touches my heart very deeply.
as a film critic, he was somebody who gave life to new voices, gave life to new visions that reflected all the diversity of this nation.
He made it possible for a bigger audience, a wider audience, to appreciate cinema as an art form, because he really loved films.
For me, the movies are like a machine that generates empathy. It lets you understand hopes, aspirations, dreams, and fears. It helps us to identify with the people who are sharing this journey with us.
So one thing we got to start off with this is the fact that I screwed up yesterday by saying that Roger Ebert had died earlier that year in April. That was actually 1 year before, in 2013, when he died. In April 2013, that's when he passed away. So the first thing I want to get out of the way here, but like I said, this is based off of Roger Ebert's autobiography called Life Itself, which makes use of footage, including him, featuring interviews with him during the final months of his life, interspersed with interviews from his friends, colleagues, and family, including Chaz Ebert, his wife, Martin Scorsese, Werner Herzog, Errol Morris, Ava DuVernay, just to name a few. There's also clips from the Siskel and Ebert Show, outtakes, and many appearances on The Tonight Show and David Letterman. It also explores the relationship between Siskel and Ebert, Roger's friendship with Russ Meyer, and their collaboration on Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, as well as Roger ultimately coming to transcend film criticism and becoming an influential cultural and political voice. And even if you know so much about Roger Ebert from his many works, television, publications, whatever, this is still a mesmerizing look into one of the great people of our generation by showing a lot of people that a lot of things that you never really knew about the people like Roger Ebert, and not just him, but also the people around him. The documentary is such an amazing feat, as it does present a lot of amazing information about Roger and Gene as well, like how Siskel always used to live in the Playboy Mansion before he became a prominent film critic. They show pictures of his early days with Hugh Hefner and other people during that time, and in fact, even in the trailer, you heard it there, Roger Ebert wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Gene Siskel was living Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. And it also shows Ebert influencing a lot of directors, Scorsese, Ava DuVernay, who's going to have Selma coming out later in the year, and really turning out one of the best movies of the year. It all feels very real. It doesn't feel hokey or there just to be dramatic. It reminded me so much of the Johnny Carson documentary, where you have all these different celebrities coming in, these comedians who got their career started because of Johnny Carson. None of it feels fake whatsoever, and especially here, and even in here as well. Like I'm saying, especially here, but no, not this. With this and the Johnny Carson thing, whenever people talk about the people involved in the documentaries, it never feels fake whatsoever. It never feels like you're watching something that's just been fabricated to get a cheap emotional plug out of you. It's not like it's not a Logan Paul apology video. It's nothing like that whatsoever. None of the dramatic moments here feel fake at all. It's genuine. It's very poignant, especially when you see Roger in the hospital trying to recover from cancer. They have some of the most emotional and powerful scenes of any documentary that I've ever seen. You can see the pain that Roger is going through in these scenes. But he's not taking it out on anyone. He's not getting upset. He's not getting angry. He's just taking it as it is and does the best he can under the circumstances that he's in. Like the scene where he's on a walker and he goes for a couple of brief steps before wanting to stop because of the pain he's feeling. I mean, that's just great stuff right there. That's just really excellent stuff that you don't get a lot of in documentaries that feel genuine, that feel very authentic overall. Like, there's a lot of interesting things that were said about Ebert before, like about how, a Leonard Cohen song saved him as he was about to leave the hospital after his cancer surgery, and he had to be admitted back in when his cardio artery burst near the surgery site. The most powerful moment of the film is towards the end, when Roger had said in the days leading up to his death that he was ready to go, and didn't tell his wife Chaz about it, that he didn't want defibrillation. You can just see the heartbreak in her eyes in the interview when she remembers that moment. That just felt so real and so authentic. That's where the heart of the film comes from, the emotions. There are people who loved Roger and knew that he was not just a fan of movies, he loved movies. He also loved life, hence the title of his memoir. It is such a fascinating documentary that packs in all these great emotional moments, wonderful stories about Ebert, and just a lot of good funny moments too. There's great stuff we never knew about Roger Ebert. Like, you never knew, like he always said he always said that the reason why he never drank or smoked was because he saw Pinocchio, but the documentary tells you that, yeah, he drank and smoked behind the scenes. So yeah, that's one of those things where he's kind of lying to you because he's trying to hide those personal demons behind him, but it's all perfectly handled very well. Like, if you were ever a fan of Roger Ebert's work, or were just like me, heavily influenced by his work, this is definitely a movie worth checking out, and it makes sense why this movie works. This is directed by the same guy that did Hoop Dreams, Steve James, and Hoop Dreams is one of my favorite movies of all time, one of the greatest documentaries of all time that got screwed over so badly at the Oscars because the Oscars didn't want to give a good documentary that wasn't like any other documentary being made at that time or nominated that year the Oscar. And what a shocker, this one didn't get nominated for an Oscar either, even though it's still one of the best documentaries ever. Like, this is definitely, as Roger Ebert reported, I give this a big thumbs up overall. If you have not seen Life Itself, seek this out. It's definitely one of the greatest documentaries you will ever see in your life. Even if you're not a big Roger Ebert fan, you can still admire the work and the effort they put into this. This does not feel fake at all. This feels real. This feels authentic. It's a great piece of filmmaking. Life Itself, simply amazing work. Definitely check it out.
We've been through hell together. We spent 4 years fighting that virus, and then another 4 fighting each other. It was chaos. You all know what we're up against. I need to speak to Caesar. And I want you to know, it's not just about power. It's about giving us the hope to rebuild and reclaim the world we lost.
And that cameraman was never seen again. I'm actually kind of surprised they got that footage. But welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 2 films of July 11th, 2014. And boy, do we have two really good ones. And I'm not kidding around. This was probably the best overall weekend for new movies in 2014. And how can you go wrong with our first movie, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, this time bringing in director Matt Reeves, who had just come off of Cloverfield, and the very underrated Let Me In. And essentially, this movie kind of established him as kind of the next reliable big blockbuster guy. Because after this, I mean, he had winner after winner after winner. Well, technically 2 winners, but we'll touch on those later on down the road. But let's talk about this movie here. This is, of course, following up the events of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. We have a growing nation of genetically evolved apes led by Caesar, voiced in mocap by Andy Serkis, who's threatened by a band of human survivors led by Jason Clarke and Kerry Russell of the devastating virus unleashed a decade ago. They reach a fragile peace, but it proves short-lived as both sides are brought to the brink of a war that will determine who will emerge as Earth's dominant species. And like I said, man, not only did this movie manage to be as great as the previous film, but I actually think it outdid a lot of my expectations when I first saw it, because, yeah, this is a really fucking good movie, man. I mean, there's just so much to love and appreciate about this movie. It's amazing that they were able to make it work as well as it did, making it more awesome and more epic than the first film did, but, first up, the scenes where it's just the apes themselves are so good, and they talk through sign language, and it's so impressively handled. The majority of it is done, of the first 15 minutes, has no dialogue in it, and I love a movie that has the balls and the brass ones to go in there and say, hey, we're brave enough to have scenes like this where we're not going to have anybody talking for a few minutes. Like, especially for a big summer action film like this, which is going to be seen by a lot of people, and for it to work as well as it does, I mean, you can't really say anything more about how great that is to see that. Secondly, the visual effects are amazing. The apes, I think, are much better handled in here. There are much less flaws in the visual department than there were in the first film. And Andy Serkis, man, I mean, I did touch on it in my original review, but ever since this movie, man, we have come to realize that Andy Serkis is a god when it comes to playing motion capture characters. I mean, this is the guy that played Gollum. He played King Kong in Peter Jackson's movie. And Caesar, I think, is his magnum opus. This is one of the best characters ever put to film. I mean, it's not just because of the performance by Andy Serkis, but not just the mocap work, but you feel this guy's whole situation overall. You do feel this ape's character going through the course of this movie, and it's just one of the more fascinating and amazing characters that really you just gotta see to believe it, man. I mean, there's no reason why this character should have not been acknowledged at the Oscars. I mean, back in the 80s, if this movie had come out in the 1980s, this would have gotten like a special achievement Oscar, just like with Roger Rabbit in 88 and then Toy Story in 95, and sadly we don't do that anymore. Like, because even though the technology has vastly evolved since those films came out, like, this should have gotten a special Oscar at the very least, or at least a Best Actor nomination for the Academy to realize that, hey, we acknowledge how great this performance is, but keep in mind, this is pre-2021 Oscars, where, you know, they didn't really give a shit about what good movies. They wanted to nominate all the Oscar bait movies and all that type of stuff, like, excuse me, sorry. But, the two main characters overall, I thought were very good. Jason Clarke as Malcolm and Kerry Russell as Ellie. They're good characters. They did contribute to the story and weren't just there to be the typical stereotype characters. They saved those for some of the characters other in this movie, but we'll get to them later on. But the action sequences I thought very good. I thought this was very well handled by Matt Reeves and cinematographer Michael Searson, who has done a lot of cinematography and a lot of good cinematography. He did Gravity. He did Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Hell, he's been working on movies since the late 70s. I mean, he did stuff like Bugsy Malone, and that movie was amazing for making a big-scale movie with these kid actors. I mean, I just watched it. I've had that movie for several years on Blu-ray, and I finally got to watch it not too long ago. It's a friggin' amazing movie, man. Bugsy Malone is a very underrated film on so many levels. If you have not seen that movie, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth it just for the visual look at that film alone. He worked on that movie, and I thought both of them did a very good job, director and cinematography, making this look as flawless and as epic as you could possibly imagine. And it does run at a smooth enough pace. The pacing is very good here. The great story that expands on the universe since the events of the first film is well done. Nothing about it feels forced or just thrown in there. And just because everything that happens works, it happens for a reason and purpose to the story itself. Now, there are some flaws to it. Of course, you gotta have your flaws in here. Even some of the best movies ever have some bad flaws to it. But, like, the other human characters are not really all that great. Not just the humans, I should say, but the apes as well. They're kind of your generic stereotype characters. Gary Oldman's playing the leader who doesn't want to listen to reason. You know, one of Malcolm's helpers is a trigger-happy nut who just wants to kill apes with no rational thinking at all. Which is funny because of what's going on in the world right now. You say, oh, that's pretty much like what's going on in our government right now. But that's a whole other thing altogether. Like, Caesar's son is seduced into the dark side by Koba, basically kind of the tyrannical ape who wants all apes to bow to him and humans destroyed, before turning back once Caesar ends up surviving an event in the film. It's just kind of like, are we really doing this again? Like, we know what this is going to do, how it's going to happen overall here, but there's also plot points that never got brought out here whatsoever. They say they only have fuel for a few more weeks. Then they use it as gas for the cars they drive up to where the apes are at, because that's where the dam with the power is that they're looking for. Couldn't you just use the fuel on a plane and just fly to the dam itself? I mean, it's really not that hard to do. I mean, they never explain in the film that why it can be done, and if they do so, it's just like it's likely the apes will destroy the plane. So really, why not just do that? I mean, it's worth trying it at least once, for God's sakes. I mean, what are you trying to accomplish here by not doing that? But it's also very predictable too. You can kind of predict where everything is going to go, but never to a point where the movie where it ruins the film overall. You can have a predictable story as long as you do something unique with it and still expand on your story and it's set up fine. It works well. Like if you do what you did with the Transformers movie that came out the week before, yeah, people are going to get sick and tired of it really fucking quickly. Like, if Transformers 4 is the worst kind of a summer blockbuster, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is the complete opposite of that. It's a fresh, well-written movie, beautifully acted, beautifully directed. The story works, a lot of fun to watch. One of the best sequels I've ever seen in my life, and it just continues to show how good of a summer this was, because this was a really good summer for movies in general. And I think I had this high up on my list of the best movie years of all time, if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago. It was in my top 5. It was like, I think, number 4 on the list I had there. But, yeah, this was one of the best movie years of recent memory. And this is one of those examples of where, yeah, that comes into play of why this was such a good year for movies in general. So, yeah, if you haven't seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes yet, for God's sakes, get out there and see not only this movie, but watch all these movies that came after 2011. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, even the recently released, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I forgot the title for a second. Even that one's pretty good, even though it is kind of an unnecessary sequel, but it's still a really damn good movie overall. A lot of them are really good films. Like, I can't recommend these movies enough overall. Just enjoy them, watch them, you'll have a great time with them just like I did. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, one of the best movies of the year, one of the best sequels I've ever seen. So, and let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Richard Linklater's epic masterpiece of a different kind, and that is Boyhood.
In 2002, director Richard Linklater cast a 6-year-old boy. Over the next 12 years, they made movie history.
You guys ready to have some fun?
Now, discover what the New York Times calls one of the most extraordinary films of the 21st century. Boyhood touches something deep and true. There has never been anything like this film.
Who do you want to be, Mason? What do you want to do?
Boyhood, rated R. In select theaters July 11th.
So yeah, this is a movie that has a very special gimmick to it. What they did was, they started shooting this movie back in 2002. And Richard Linklater's plan essentially was to have the cast come back every year and film a new segment over the course of 12 years. That was the original plan overall, but I think it was 11 years since this came out since they finished filming around 2013. But either way, this is still an amazing idea to work with here, to have a movie that's you're following as these characters are growing older, not just the kids, but the adults as well. And that was kind of the fun thing about this gimmick overall, but it turned out to be one of those great movie achievements that you really, like, honestly, you really couldn't have seen coming if you really didn't try, if you really didn't see what they were doing here. But yeah, this is a terrific, terrific movie, man. Boyhood tells the story, essentially, of, this family, Ella Coltrane, who plays one of the kids, Ethan Hawke, Patricia Arquette, and Richard Linklater's daughter, Laura Linklater, and the rest of the cast of the crew, showing the growth of a young boy and his older sister to adulthood. It goes from May 2002 to October 2013. And this whole thing is still amazing how they put this together. This thing didn't even have a finished script when they started shooting this, and Linklater basically had to prepare each character's basic plot points, and the ending wasn't written until the last year of the shooting of this movie, and it's very fascinating how they were able to put this whole thing together, and it turned out to be the masterpiece that it really is, because this really is a masterpiece of a movie. It's one of the great movie experiences you can really see. It's amazing to see how this film started off. It's just kind of this improvisational film. Let's see how this starts off here. If it doesn't work, we just go on and do something else. And it slowly but surely becomes this smartly written, very cleverly made motion picture experience that, honestly, we might not ever see again. Although Richard Linklater is doing another film, if I'm not mistaken, with the same kind of idea. It's actually being filmed as we speak right now. Merrily We Roll Along is supposedly his next one. And supposedly it's not going to get done until 2040, so by the time it comes out, I'll be in my 50s at that point. I mean, good Lord, I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 years old by this time it comes out. God, I'm getting old. I just turned 37 3 weeks ago. What the fuck? But that's for another time. But yeah, it's incredible that he's going to try to do this again because, yeah, this thing could not have been the hardest, could not have been the easiest thing to do overall. And what makes it so unique is that you have somebody like Richard Linklater who is so good at making these mainstream movies, but he can also make these smaller independent movies that still hold up very much. I mean, the guy does not miss at all. I mean, this started shooting before School of Rock came out, and by the end, he'd already established himself as a solid director. The Bad News Bears remake he did was very good. A Scanner Darkly, Me and Orson Welles was an underrated gem of his. So was Bernie. Even Fast Food Nation wasn't a great movie, but it certainly wasn't a bad movie overall. This movie works because the acting feels very real and genuine. It does a spectacular job with its cast and how everybody gets older and how everybody works together, even as time goes on in general here. The drama is really good. It doesn't feel fake or phoned in. If Linklater really would have wanted to, he could have continued. He could have made this the Up series for this generation in particular. And if you've never seen the Up movies, it's this fascinating documentary series where Michael Apted follows these 7 kids early on, I think in the 60s, and he comes back and sees them every 7 years to see how they're doing. So the next one would be 7 Up. The first one would be 7 Up, and the next one would be 14 Up, and then 21 Up, 28, 35, so on and so forth. And I think they're still doing them even after he died not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check on that, but I think that Richard Linklater could do the same thing here, where you have the actors coming back every few years, and we can have more to these characters' lives in general. That is assuming that Linklater would want to do this, but if anything, maybe one and done probably is enough overall. And even if this next one he does is really good, turns out to be pretty good, I mean, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as this film right here, because this one is a masterpiece of a film, man. This really should have been a movie where it probably had a good chance of winning Best Picture, and if it had won, I would have not minded at all. Although the film that did win Best Picture that year was pretty good, but we'll get into that later on in the year. But I got nothing else to say for you, man. Boyhood is just such a phenomenal movie. It's a cinematic achievement that it's going to be very hard to top. And I mean, what more can I say about it, man? It's a great film. If you have not seen it yet, get out there and see Boyhood, man. It's a terrific achievement. Just the way it's filmed, just the way these actors work off each other, just the way the stories are being told. It's a terrific film. I can't recommend this one enough. Boyhood, one of the best movies of the year, easily. Easily.
If you're not purging, we advise you to get off the streets.
This is the commencement of the annual purge.
This won't bring your son back. Don't do this.
All crime, including murder, will be legal.
It's an unwritten purge rule. We don't save lives. We can't have heroes. Just try to stick to the plan. No heroes.
Thank you.
Follow me.
Hey, we have to go now! Oh my God, where are they taking us?
This lot is fresh off the streets. The bidding will start at 200,000.
I'll see you shortly at the hunting grounds.
We're gonna have people in front of us, we're gonna have people behind us. Don't stop. Run for your life.
People like us, we don't survive tonight!
It's my night! Prepare!
They're coming.
Remember, look at the purge does.
Rated R.
Coming soon to an America near you. No, seriously, you don't think this administration is going to try to make the purge a reality? I'm actually kind of surprised we aren't doing that yet, but Maybe that's what's going on in Minnesota right now. But anyway, getting off of real life here. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up July 18th, 2014, and we have a couple of surprises, couple of disappointments, and yeah, they're dispersed all throughout this episode here. So let's begin with the biggest of the new releases, which is of course The Purge: Anarchy. In it, you have a couple played by Zach Gilford and Keely Sanchez who are driving home to their kids when their car runs out of gas just as the purge commences. Meanwhile, you have a police sergeant played by Frank Grillo who goes out into the streets to get revenge on the man who killed his son, and a mother, Carmody Jogo, and daughter, Zoe Soul, running from their home after assailants destroy it. The 5 people meet up as they attempt to survive the night in Los Angeles. And like I said, the first Purge movie is kind of a mixed bag overall. Some people like it, some people hate it. I thought it was actually pretty okay. I mean, I like the idea of it, but, you know, the whole thing about it was that a couple things. One, the acting's good, but, you know, this whole thing could have been prevented if this one kid didn't let this one guy in the house. And honestly, the film could have also had a better plot to work with and also kind of explain more of why the Purge is supposed to do what it does. But luckily, this movie really does fix all that, and I'll get to that in just a second here. Honestly, the vines that people were making for this movie were much better than the actual movie itself. For those of you youngsters out there that don't know what the Vine is, just imagine TikTok before it was TikTok. I mean, it was pretty much that, except Vine I think was much funnier, even though most of us are on TikTok right now, but I would rather have Vine than TikTok in my personal opinion. But the sequel, there's a sense that there's more going into this film than the first film is, and yeah, it delivers on those promises, and at some points the movie can legitimately be terrifying. I mean, Frank Grillo, who we just seen in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, gets his chance to shine as a leading actor in this, and I thought he did a pretty good job in this, as does the other 4 people he works with. The action scenes are really good, and the sense of fear of getting killed during this 12-hour period is definitely there. What it probably wasn't there the first time around is because we're mostly spending the time inside of this one house instead of going out in the open and seeing what everybody else is going through in this situation here. And I'm glad they didn't take the cheap way out of this whole thing. I like the fact that they didn't just redo the first film. They added to the story. They created an explanation for why the Purge is supposed to do what it does and how people can take that in extreme levels. They create these new scary elements to the world. You see it in the trailer. The best aspect of that is when you have these 5 people getting kidnapped and being sold off to these upper-class purgers. It's such a nicely shot scene that is handled creepily well. The intentions are much scarier than the trailers before had promised you. I mean, this film overall is a much better movie than the previous movie in general here, but it still doesn't have enough of an edge to really make me say it's even better than the first movie. It's a much stronger movie than the first movie is. It's a better movie, but I definitely think that this one has a little bit more of a flaw to it overall, but there's definitely a lot more to it going for it, like the whole idea of the expansion of why the Purge is around here and what it's supposed to actually be doing here. It does have a lot going for it. It definitely shows that there's a lot more elements being brought to the table here, and the fact that, you know, we're taking it out of the house, we're making it much bigger than it needs to be, and we're showing you the scare factor of being out during this terrifying situation in general, and it's very well done overall. I mean, they expand on this universe very, very well. It does show off what the series could eventually become down the road, which eventually will become down the road. It's definitely a better movie than the first film is. I think it does a better job of explaining why the Purge is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it's just a good movie, man. It's a really good film. It's definitely better than the first movie overall. Not perfect yet, but we're getting there. We're going to get there within the next couple of movies, but yeah, overall, terrific film. Absolutely terrific. Definitely a lot better than the first movie was. Speaking of movies that were better than the first film was, here's one of the big surprises of the summer. Who would have guessed that a sequel to Planes would be as good as it was?
We've got a report of a wildfire.
Dangerous work. But that's the job of a firefighter. You might not feel it.
We need every plane we've got.
You might not see it.
I will never understand why you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
We're not. We're jumping out of you.
I'm Dipper, if anyone calls me.
Okay, Mrs.
Miss, yeah.
Dipper.
Dipper.
Yep.
Honk, beep, beep.
Park superintendent. He waxes himself daily.
Watch your altitude.
Copy that?
I see him. I got it.
July 18th, rated PG.
Yeah, Planes, Fire, and Rescue was actually a pretty damn good movie. It was actually one of the big surprises of the summer in general. It was a movie that, it's coming off of a first film that was basically just a cash-in for the Cars franchise, which was originally supposed to be a direct-to-video movie, and then somehow got blown up for the big screen, and it just didn't work overall. This one, however, is a completely different animal altogether. This is the one where you could tell they put the effort into it, not just in the animation, but the storytelling, and actually feels more like a Pixar movie than the first film did. So you have Dusty Crophopper, once again played by Dane Cook, who is now learning that his engine is damaged and he may never race again. So he has to shift gears and is launched into the world of wildlife air attacks. He joins forces with a veteran fire and rescue helicopter voiced by Ed Harris and his air attack team, including Little Dipper voiced by Julie Bowen, Windlifter, Wes Studi, Cabby, Dale Dye, and a lively bunch of brave all-terrain vehicles known as the Smoke Jumpers. Regina King, Corey English, Brian Cal, and Danny Pardo, Matt Jones, and together the fearless team battle a massive wildfire, and Dusty learns what it takes to become a true hero. Yeah, this one is surprisingly really good. I was actually really impressed on how this movie was one of those big surprises I did not see coming a mile away. Yeah, you get terrible puns here and there, like the whole there's a line in the trailer where these two cars are trying to pick this car up, and she goes like, "Oh, pickup trucks," and like stuff like that. Between that there are very few and far between. Sometimes you do get a good joke here and there. Like there's a good joke. I think this was the one that actually had it in this where. Like, there's a part of the movie where one of the cars goes, "She left me for a hybrid." Like, that's a good, like, that's an example of a joke where it actually does kind of work in here. And yeah, I think the sequel does a better job because there's at least a message and a point to it being there that they're trying to get across in general. And I thought they did a pretty good job of it. I think what happened is that in between films, someone on the creative team looked at the first film and said, "Look, if we're going to do another film, let's not insult the intelligence of our audience and do something unique and actually maybe teach a lesson or two." Because honestly, that's what it feels like when you look at this movie. And the voice actors are very good here. Once again, Dane Cook is really good as Dusty, and I liked him a lot in the first movie in general here. He's not bad in this. I mean, I guess that's what we need to do with people who get on our nerves. Just put them in a recording studio and just let their voices do the acting. I mean, look at what it did for Jason Biggs on the Ninja Turtles TV show of the 2010s. I mean, it turned him into a pretty decent actor overall. Julie Bowen, Stacy Keach, Ed Harris do a lot of good job with the voices in general here. There's some stunt casting here and there, but it's not unnecessary or annoying, really. And that's really kind of how I feel about the movie in general here. It's not annoying, it's not unnecessary. There is actually something of merit here. It's a movie that's made strictly for kids and regular adults like myself who probably scoff at this and go like, "I'm too sophisticated for a movie like this." But for kids, though, it's a good movie. It's definitely an upgrade over the first movie. It felt like more of an effort being put into it. I mean, I think kids would enjoy this, and I don't think adults would be really offended by it overall if they showed their kids this. I mean, if they had already seen How to Train Your Dragon 2, which came out early in the summer, this would probably be a fine alternative for them to see But yeah, if you're going to show them one or the other, just show them How to Train Your Dragon first, and then maybe if they're interested in Planes, Fire, Rescue, definitely show them that. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely a better movie than the first film, and that's more you can ask for a film like this, so take that for what you will. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to easily the worst movie of the entire week. And easily the worst movie Cameron Diaz will make in 2014. Yeah, suck it, other women and anti-haters. Sex Tape is the bottom of the barrel for her and Jason Segel.
We're gonna go to jail, Jay.
Welcome
To our sex tape.
Oh, crap.
It's up on the internet for the entire world to see?
I'm on there too.
Nobody cares about the guy.
Fair enough.
We have to get that back right now.
Who has sex for 3 hours? We did. That's the length of the movie Lincoln. You did the full Lincoln. Sex tape.
Lincoln jokes, because heaven forbid that Steven Spielberg's Lincoln will still be relevant in 2014 because of how long the movie is. And it's just like, if you're gonna do that joke, do it with something that came out not too long, not something that came out not too long ago. Do something like, you could have done the Lord of the Rings or the Harry Potter, because that would have made a whole lot more sense. With this, it's literally date stamping the movie before the movie even is out. And that's one of the many problems of this movie. Because, yeah, like I said, this movie is awful. So you have Jason Segel and Cameron Diaz reuniting again for the first time since Bad Teacher as a couple who get together. Their romantic connection is intense, but 10 years and 2-year kids later, their flame of love needs a spark. So to kick things up a notch, they decide why not to make a video of themselves trying out each position in the Joy of Sex book in one marathon 3-hour session. It seems like a great idea until they discover that their most private video is no longer private. With their reputations on the line, they know they're just one click away from being laid bare to the world, but as to their race to reclaim the video leads them to a night they'll never forget, they'll find that the video will expose even more than they bargained for. I mean, this movie in particular is just, I mean, this is a mess, man. I mean, this movie beat me down when I saw it. I mean, I don't like it, and yet I don't hate it at the same time. It's not a bad movie on the levels of some of the other bad films I had to sit through, and one we're going to get to next week. Like, I think, like, movies like That Awkward Moment, Transcendence, and the film we'll get to next week are much worse, but with this, you expect so much more from it because of who's involved in it. And the fact that it's a lot of the same people that made Bad Teacher, which was a really funny summer comedy that came out 3 years ago. And we're getting to the point where raunchy R-rated comedies really are not the norm anymore. I mean, we get one every year that will break out big time, but yeah, this was getting to a point where we're not there yet, but we're getting to a point where the raunchy R-rated comedy was kind of dying out at this point. And I mean, to the movie's credit, Cameron Diaz and Jason Segel aren't bad in this. They have good chemistry together, as they showed in Bad Teacher, and that's really the only good thing I can say about the movie, is that the chemistry is very good between them. They just need a better script to work with here, because this movie is just, the biggest flaw of this movie is that it's just a lame movie. The plot definitely has some potential for comedy gold, and the film really doesn't do anything with it. The story is really not that intriguing whatsoever. It's just, here's an R-rated comedy that takes the easy way out and fails because of that. There's a stupid subplot where Rob Corddry's son wants $25,000 from Jason Segel for the tape, and there's not one point in this film before that showed this kid had anything against him. So where did that even come from? Why? Because Jason Segel had the Michael Jordan, LeBron James argument in Bad Teacher? Was that why we're doing this? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. And another problem with the movie is that for a raunchy comedy called Sex Tape, there's almost nothing raunchy about this movie. I mean, yeah, you get to see Cameron Diaz's ass every once in a while, but there's no boobs in here. There's not even that many scenes of them doing the positions in the video until the very end, which is basically a rip-off to the end of The Hangover. Like, it's literally done in pictures, just like the end of The Hangover does. But Bad Teacher had much more raunchier elements to it than this movie does. And another thing that's missing is the comedy. There's not one point in this movie where I laughed at all. There were so many points where I wanted to scream out, where's the fucking comedy at? Where's the joke? And really, the biggest problem with the movie, and this is what I hate about comedies, the bad comedies, is that the two main characters are freaking idiots. Because not only do they handle this entire situation extremely poorly, but they just don't think before they act. So Jason Segel's first thing that he does is that he's supposed to know about how this app he uses works, and yet he doesn't know how to get rid of the videos he has on this app. It's like, it's not hard to delete something off of an app, and the fact that they went to this insane level to go to this place where the video is at and just destroy everything, to get rid of this app for no reason, except for have a plot that's just so stupid. It's just like, it felt like the people who wrote The Internship wrote this movie. You know, these old people who try to be hip with the kids and all that. And just like, you fail miserably at it. And it shows in here. But the cherry on top of what made me really mad about this movie, what made me really hate it the most. So there's a part in the movie where they have to go to the YouPorn headquarters to sneak in and make sure the tape doesn't get uploaded by destroying the servers. Which would be fine except for one tiny little problem. You brought your damn kids with you. You cannot be this stupid to bring your kids with you on not only an illegal crime, which could force you to lose your kids, by the way, but you're also dragging them to a place that houses pornographic video clips. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you out of your mind? These two are idiots. You make Jim from American Pie look normal. In fact, Jim from American Pie could have easily beat the crap out of these two for how stupid they are. They should have just called him before, because he found a way to get that video he did in the first American Pie off the internet with no problem whatsoever. Diaz and Segel, however, go to these insanely stupid levels to make sure that this shouldn't be this hard. really damn difficult. Even the guy who runs the company, played by Jack Black, by the way, it says that, hey, you could have just done this, and we could have taken the video down for you. It's just like, yeah, you know why they didn't do it? Because then you wouldn't have a movie, which is probably a good thing, because, yeah, this movie is really just an unbelievable mess of a film. Like, it's a film that, the more I think about it, it is probably one of the worst movies I saw that year. And I think it is one of the worst films I saw that year. For a film that's 94 minutes long, like, this just feels like vapor. It just goes in and comes out. It does not really leave an effect on you, except the fact that this movie in particular really does not have anything of merit to it whatsoever. Like, I mean, I think it's a bad movie. It's a lame, boring, lackluster movie with no creativity or thought put into it whatsoever. It's a film that is just such a mess. And yeah, like I said, this is the bottom of the barrel for Cameron Diaz in 2014. The other woman I thought was funny, and I like Annie. We'll get to Annie later on in the year. I'm one of the few people that actually likes that movie, but again, we'll touch on that at the end of the year. But yeah, movies like this, Sex Tape, really make you realize why Cameron Diaz probably retired, because if she's going to keep getting handed scripts like this, I wouldn't have blamed her for retiring after that. But yeah, this made The Sweetest Thing look like a better movie. And that movie was bad too, but The Sweetest Thing was at least trying to be funny. And it did with some of its odd things that it decided to put in there. I mean, it's not a good movie by any means necessary, but it certainly runs circles around this pile of garbage here. No question about it. This is one of the worst movies of the year. Sex Tape, just an unmitigated disaster. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to one last bit of disappointment. Not a bad movie like Sex Tape, but just a more underwhelming movie. Zach Braff's directorial follow-up to Garden State coming 10 years later. This is Wish I Was Here.
I had an epiphany. It was right here.
What's an epiphany?
When you realize something that you really needed to realize.
Critics have fallen in love with Wish I Was Here.
Welcome to Aston Martin.
It's really about what it sounds like when you floor it.
There will be no flooring.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Wish I Was Here. Rated R.
Couldn't you have just made a movie about JD and Turk going on their wild adventures? Because, yeah, Zach Braff and Donald Faison clearly deserve to have a much better movie than this. I mean, you could literally make this the Scrubs movie and just have it be the continuing adventures of JD and Turk. And really, I think you would have had a much better movie than this. Because, yeah, boy, talk about one of the biggest disappointments I've seen in a long, long time. Especially considering how much I loved Zach Braff's first directorial effort. But yeah, this one is very underwhelming. So you have Braff playing Aiden Bloom, who's a struggling actor, father and husband, who's at 35 years old, still trying to find his identity, a purpose for his life. He winds up trying to homeschool his two children when his father can no longer afford to pay for private education, and the only available public school is on its last legs. Though teaching them about their life his way, Aiden gradually discovers some of the parts of himself he couldn't find. So, really, what's the biggest problem with the movie in general? Well, before I even get to that, it is a fascinating story about what happened with this movie in general, because Zach Braff basically looked at what happened with the Veronica Mars Kickstarter and basically said, you know, hey, if Veronica Mars can work successfully with a Kickstarter, why can't I do it with my movie? And so he put a Kickstarter together. He wanted to make $2 million to boost the project, and so he ended up getting over $3 million. And even the actress herself, Joey King, who stars in this movie, also donated money before she was even attached to a cast member. But people actually got criticized this because of the fact that $3 million of the $5 million budget came from crowdfunding, and then the company that produced the film, Worldview Entertainment, stepped in to up the budget to $5 million, and it said that the unconventional funding model meant that crowdfunding supporters were promised bonuses for their pledges, yet film financier Worldview Entertainment stood to make a financial return on its investment. Braff stated that he believes the negativity responded to the movie's crowdfunding campaign contributed to the movie's box office failure. I don't think it really was that in general, because neither this nor Veronica Mars were the groundbreaking hits that I think they were expecting them to be, but I mean, to the movie's credit, it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad film at all. It's just kind of an underwhelming film. Now, I really loved Garden State. I think that was it's still one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a movie that is so unique and so genuinely interesting from a guy who before that was mostly known for being, you know, the wacky JD on Scrubs. But, you know, that movie gave him a chance to expand his range as an actor in general, and it worked very well. This one, I think, almost works, except the fact that it kind of feels underwhelming overall, despite all the good people involved in this, not just Brather and Faison and King, but Kate Hudson, Josh Gad, Jim Parsons, Mandy Patinkin, Ashley Greene. This was one of the last movies James Avery, Uncle Phil was in before he died in 2013. I thought he died later on, but no, he died in 2013. Yeah, this is one of the last things he was involved in, and so there is a lot of good people involved in the movie here, and the idea, I think, is very good. The intentions are good, but it's one of those movies that has been, its biggest problem overall is that we've seen this type of story done before. We've seen it done before in many other movies. Hell, we saw a lot of it in Garden State, and I think trying to just repeat the same thing you did over and over again, it does get old really fast. And in a film like this, it definitely feels like this movie really feels like it's charted territory we've seen done over and over again. I mean, it's basically about a story about a guy who's trying to figure out what he wants to do for the rest of his life. And so, hey, I'll just go ahead and do this, and just it's nothing new, man. I mean, we've seen people do this not just in real life, but also in movies as well. And yeah, that's really the biggest flaw of it overall, is that it's a story we've seen done to death before. There's nothing about it that really makes it stand out or anything unique overall. Like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's just a film that's been there, done that. I think the actors overall are doing a good enough job in this, and I think Zach Braff is a good director. But I think Garden State did this kind of thing a whole lot better, and I felt like he was trying to recapture that magic over again with this. And it just wasn't there for this one. At least in my personal opinion, it really wasn't. So, yeah, it's not a bad movie, just not the movie that I think a lot of people were expecting it to be after what he did with Garden State. I know I was severely let down by it after watching Garden State as many times as I had, because I love that movie a lot. But this, yeah, it just didn't work for me. I think a lot of people, it didn't work for them. But, yeah, it's just kind of an underwhelming film overall. Not a bad film, but just definitely a film that disappointed a lot of people, myself included. So, wish I was here. And so with that said, we're going to wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and we will wrap it up with 6 big movies to wrap July up, including not only the worst movie I saw that summer, not only the worst movie of the year, not only the worst movie of the decade, the worst movie I have ever seen in my entire effing life. Yeah, I know. You think I'd be starting the show off with a little bit more professionalism, but I'm sorry. When I have to talk about the worst movie-going experience I've ever had in my life, the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, even somebody like me that doesn't drink has to go ahead and plow a few. So, with all that said, let's prepare to head back into that hell once again. Bottoms up.
Use 10% of our brain.
Now let's discuss a special case.
Somebody put a bag of drugs in me that will allow me to use 100% of my brain.
That's amazing.
Since when did you start writing Chinese?
Since an hour ago.
Her brain capacity is increasing by the minute.
What happens when she reaches 100%? I have no idea. Lucy. Rated R.
Alright, let's get something straight out of the gate first of all. This is not alcohol. In fact, it's far from it. This is actually, believe it or not, here's a relic of COVID times. This is a bottle of hand sanitizer. And even this thing smells like hand sanitizer. Like, you can't smell it at home, but yeah, this thing literally still smells like hand sanitizer. Even though I did clean this out 6 years ago. It even tells you on the front there, do not drink it, which I don't think anybody needs to tell you not to drink hand sanitizer. And by the way, it's actually brought to you by Faber Liquor. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's the prop I've been using there. So, sorry to ruin the illusion for you, but no, I don't drink. And, yeah. But if I did, it would certainly be for the movie that we're about to talk about here. Welcome, everybody, to Time About the Movies. Today, we have a massive show for you with 6 movies on the docket today for July 25th, 2014. But before we get to any of the other ones that are actually tolerable, or at least somewhat enjoyable, we have to go to the bottom of the barrel. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to this channel and have never seen the other videos I've made about how much I hate this movie, Welcome to the worst movie I have ever seen in my entire effing life, Lucy. Now, Luc Besson was one of the pioneers of the 90s action movie. You know, he made classics like La Femme Nikita, Leon the Professional, The Fifth Element. However, like most film pioneers of the time, there comes a point where that badass awesomeness has to slip away, and people start to realize that, yeah, you're getting older, and your shtick is getting too old. We've seen it with many directors out there, Rob Cohen, Ridley Scott. We're seeing it now with James Cameron with Avatar, Fire and Ash. But, yeah, Luc Besson's definitely one of those directors who really just... Oh, God, this movie. If you never saw my original full-length video talking about how much I hate this movie, here's kind of a rundown of why I hate this movie so much. So in this movie, Scarlett Johansson is a woman who's accidentally caught in a drug deal and turns the tables on her captors and transforms into a merciless warrior evolved beyond human logic. Like, I'm not even kidding, folks. I really felt like, when I saw this movie for the first time, I thought I lost a bunch of my own brain cells watching this, because I got out of this movie, I was literally questioning life itself and wondering how something this bad can make it into theaters and be a big hit. Because, yes, this was a massive hit at the box office, and some may argue it was the Scarlett Johansson factor, because, you know, people go to see her in these movies, and, she knows how to draw people into these films, and they become big blockbuster hits. There's a reason why she's considered one of the top-grossing box office stars of all time at this point. I mean, Jurassic World Dominion was a massive success with her involved in it. I mean, it's getting to the point now where everyone wants to put her in these movies. I mean, she's going to be in The Exorcist coming up. She's going to be in Tangled, although I think that actually was a rumor where, she passed it up because she's actually going to be doing the Batman next, if I'm not mistaken. I could be misreading on that, but I don't know. I think I'd have to go in and check again. But the point I'm trying to get across is that people will go to see her in any movie she's in, regardless of how terrible it is. And boy, this was bad. How bad is it? It's worse than Transcendence. Let me repeat that. This movie is worse than Transcendence. How is that even possible? Transcendence, as bad of a movie as that was at least trying to tell a story and give you reasons for why the characters were doing what they were doing. They failed to explain that well in that movie, but they tried. This one doesn't even try at all. Luc Besson, who also wrote this, by the way, basically told his fans, his loyal fans, you know what, I don't want to tell you something new, because that's what this movie feels like. It's literally a retread of Limitless, only not smartly written and not a good film. Like, this is basically the two key elements of action films today. Car chases and shootouts, spliced in with pointless, and I mean pointless, stock footage to show off the director's artistic bullshit, or, as a film brain liked to call it back in the day, symbolism! Like that type of thing. And not only that, the acting is terrible in this. Scarlett Johansson is completely wasted in this movie, taking all that badassness that we saw in Black Widow and in Captain America the Winter Soldier, just giving her nothing to do except to just be a bland, lame action heroine with no emotions whatsoever. Angelina Jolie and Soda's looking a whole lot better by comparison, and that movie sucked too. The fact that you made Salt look better than this movie is just fucking pure evil. And that is not any clearer with the addition of Morgan Freeman, who once again, just like he did in Transcendence, sees this and says, well, I don't know what this means, but hey, it's got Scarlett Johansson in it, so I guess I'll be in it. Like, stop taking these terrible movies that make no sense to you. Like, Morgan Freeman literally has nothing to do in this movie except to just be the exposition guy, and it just is a failure on so many levels. Oh my god, like I felt like when he saw the script, I feel like he needs to be more, is when even script guy keeps bringing him scripts for this, for bad movies like this, he should have just gone to one of his other agents and says, shoot this motherfucker, like be like the guy in Wanted, just get out of this situation, man. Lucy has nothing to do in this movie whatsoever. There's two scenes in this movie where she has the bad guys right where she wants them, defenseless. Does she decide to kill him off or get a revenge on him like you're supposed to? I mean, they literally drug this person up to put her in this situation here. You know what she does? Lets him go for no reason. Like, is this a revenge film? Like, what are we doing here? Like, seriously, what is the point of this movie where you literally have the main person who's been fucked over by these people do nothing to him? It's just like, yeah, I've got you where I want them. Okay, I'm gonna let you go then, bye. It's just like, what are we even doing here? Like, it's just, nothing is ever explained in this movie. They never talk about, why is this happening to Lucy? They don't explain why they need to do the stuff she does in this. They never explain what the purpose of her plan is. Nothing is ever explained in this movie whatsoever. There's nothing about this movie that anybody should be happy with, especially Luc Besson. Like, he should be ashamed of himself for putting this abomination on his name. Like, this is what he stands for. This movie is just, it's fucking terrible, man. It's terribly acted. The story is all over the place. Nothing about it makes any sense. It is very much high up there with some of the worst movies I have ever had the misfortune of sitting, and it is without a doubt the worst thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, this one just took the cake for how lazy and uninspired it was. This film is a mess of a film. Like, I hope Luc Besson never makes a good movie again for the rest of his goddamn life, because, yeah, this movie is just fucking awful. Awful. And I go into greater detail on this in the video I did. If you want to check that out, it's in the corner. It's down below. Go check it out there. But I'm sorry, this movie fucking sucks. I hate this movie more than any other movie that I've ever had the misfortune to sit through. Like, this... Have you got the point yet? Have you got the point that this is awful? Well, I did it. I got through the worst movie of the weekend easily. So hopefully we can get better with our next movie, and that is Dwayne Johnson as Hercules.
We all know your legend. Your name, the rallying cry.
Yeah, that's pretty cool and all, but can you do this? I mean, sadly, there is no scene where Dwayne Johnson throws a bear into fucking outer space, just like Lou Ferrigno did in the 1980s, but yeah, that is still one of the only reasons why that movie is even remotely memorable. It's just that random scene where Lou Ferrigno's Hercules throws a bear into outer space. For what reason? We don't know. There's no reason for it, and yeah, the movie doesn't realize it either. But this is, without a doubt, the best live-action Hercules movie we've ever had. I mean, we had Legend of Hercules earlier in the year, and yeah, the Lou Ferrigno movies are not great, but they're certainly... They're so bad it's good type of bad overall. This, on the other hand, this is a movie that actually does work. It's 1400 years BCE. A tormented soul walked through the earth that was neither man nor god, called Hercules, played by Dwayne Johnson. He was the powerful son of the god King Zeus. For this he received nothing but suffering his entire life. After 12 arduous labors and the loss of his family, the dark, world-weary soul turned his back on the gods, finding his only solace in bloody battle. Over the years, he's worn to the company of 6 similar souls, their only bond being the love of fighting and presence of death. These men and women never question where they go to fight or why or whom, just how much they will be paid. Now the king of Thrace, played by John Hurt, has hired these mercenaries to train his men to become the greatest army of all time. It is time for this bunch of lost souls to finally have their eyes opened to how far they have fallen when they must train an army and become as ruthless and bloodthirsty as their reputation has become. So I'm not gonna lie, when this trailer first came out, I was not, when they first announced this, I was not looking forward to it, but, you know, after seeing Legend of Hercules, and I think a lot of people were really sold on the idea of this possibly being at least good summer escapism overall, and the first trailer came out and it actually looked pretty good. It actually looks very promising overall, and sure enough, that's exactly what this movie was. I mean, keep in mind, I saw this the same day as I saw Lucy, and after watching that abortion of a movie, This is a movie that I'm glad I was able to, like, take my mind off of things and just enjoy for what it was, because, yeah, this was a very fun movie that didn't have to be smart or too groundbreaking to be entertainment. Like, if you can go into this movie just wanting a big, fun, summer escapist epic, this is definitely what you're going to get in this. And that's actually another great thing about the movie. It's just a good sword and sandal epic, and we don't get too much of those nowadays, but it just works. Dwayne Johnson, I think, sells the role of Hercules very well in the same way he did as the Scorpion King, which, you know, was actually a better Mummy movie than actually of the Mummy movies when you really think about it. And, you know, he's great in the movie, as well as Ian McShane and one of the members of his team, you know, who's a prophet and predicts what will kill him, which leads into some of the funnier moments of the movie. The rest of the cast is really good, too. It's good to see John Hurt playing an older guy in a villainous role. I think that was kind of fun to see. The action sequences overall are pretty impressive, too. I mean, it does a good job of making the 3D beneficial to the film itself with some of the creature designs, and it's relatively short, too. It's only 90 minutes long. Like, it's a good comfort food movie that you can sit through during the hot summer season and have a good time with it overall. Is it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. There are definitely a lot of flaws about it, like the accuracy rate of Hercules and this team are way too goddamn perfect. And I also can't stand movies that have characters goes, oh, he's not the legend, and oh, I'm not who everybody thinks I am, because that happens here. It's just kind of like, well, if you're not the character you're supposed to be, then why is the movie called Hercules? Like, if it was called, if it had another title, like John or something like that, like, we probably would figure out that, yeah, this guy ain't worth shit. It's like Alice in Wonderland was notorious for that, too, with the main character consistently saying that, oh, she's not the Alice everybody thinks she is. So it's just like, oh, yes, she freaking is. Like, stop lying. Like, seriously. But, yeah, it's got its flaws overall, but there's nothing wrong with a fun, over-the-top summer movie in every once in a while. And after having to sit through Lucy the same day, this movie was more than welcoming. I mean, if you're looking for a good, old, fun time at the movies, this is definitely the one to see. Hercules is something that is indeed worth watching. It's definitely worth it, and it certainly kicks the crap out of The Legend of Hercules earlier in the year. That's for damn sure. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton starring in And So It Goes.
Little is a little insensitive, rude.
You can die now.
Unbelievable!
Who's that? This is my granddaughter. She's probably Guatemalan. What? He had sex with the maid once. I will pay you to watch her.
Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton.
Happy birthday.
It's not my birthday.
What do you think, I'm stupid?
I'm honestly with Diane Keaton. What the fuck is this movie? Believe it or not, this has a lot of stuff that's very relevant to what's been going on over the last couple of months, because not only is this a film featuring the recently deceased Diane Keaton, but it was also directed by the recently deceased Rob Reiner. So, yeah, this is going to be kind of hard to review here, because this is not a good movie, but, you know, the whole thing about respecting the dead and all that. But, yeah, Michael Douglas starring as Orion Little, who's a realtor by trade, who develops self-absorption, turning his back on the neighbors and shunning the notion of kindness to others. Hey, kind of like me during this time. But, after his wife dies, part of his self-absorption is having no patience for children, not even his own adult estranged son. His next-door neighbor, Leah, whose own husband has likewise died, never had any children of her own, which leads her to throw her soul and her tears into reviving a single career that has stagnated. And I think you get kind of the idea of where we're going with this whole thing. And to Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton's credit, they're fine in this movie, but the problem is, this feels like lesser Rob Reiner's work. I mean, Rob Reiner has made a lot of really good movies in general here. And this is actually the second time that he and Michael Douglas have collaborated. The other one was the much better movie in The American President. But this was around that time where Rob Reiner's legacy, directing credits as a whole, was kind of like falling flat overall. And there was nothing really significant or amazing that was really standing up to his much better works in the beginning. Like, this movie just didn't really do it for me, and I think it's just mostly because it's a half-assed effort overall. There's nothing really exciting about it overall, nothing really amazing about it, nothing really that engaging. It's just kind of like, oh, this is a movie that feels like it's clearly made for the much older audiences. Like, this feels like a movie that would be right up there with what Diane Keaton would be doing later on with these movies that are clearly girls' night out movies where the people aren't paying attention to what's going on in the actual movie and care more about what they're drinking and dressing before they actually look at the screen. But, I mean, to me, this just didn't work. It was just not an entertaining film. It was a really boring film, honestly. And for a film directed by Rob Reiner that has Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton among its cast, you expect so much better from it overall. And this one just sadly didn't do it for me, so. Speaking of movies with people who had then recently died, let's go ahead and move on to Philip Seymour Hoffman, and one of the first movies he did before he passed away. One of the last movies he did before he passed away is what I should be saying, and that is A Most Wanted Man.
Good to see you. You can't do this.
I'm social worker for terrorists. We've crossed the line.
Critics are calling A Most Wanted Man a riveting thriller.
We have 3 hours to apprehend Abdullah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is brilliant.
There's no going back.
Rachel McAdams and Robin Wright
Every good man has a little bit of bad. That little bit just might kill you.
are at the top of their game.
It's not safe to stay here.
A Most Wanted Man.
Of course, we already know Philip Seymour Hoffman is brilliant, but what about the movie? I mean, that's the first thing I wanted to think about. I wanted to ask this movie. It's just like, okay, he's a brilliant actor. He was one of our brilliant actors that we had working. So what's the point here? But this is a film based off of a book from John le Carre, who also gave us Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. And it focuses on a brutally tortured half Chechen, half Russian immigrant turning up in Hamburg's Islamic community, laying claim to his father's ill-gotten fortune. Both German and U.S. secret agents take a close interest as the clock ticks down as the stakes rise. The race is on to establish the most wanted man's true identity, oppressed victim or destruction-bent extremist. Based on John le Carre's novel, A Most Wanted Man is a contemporary... Sorry, I'm getting distracted here by this ad right here. A Most Wanted Man is a contemporary cerebral tale of intrigue, love, rivalry, and politics that prickles with tensions right through its last heart-stopping scene. Sorry, this ad over here got me distracted. Like, it went blue screen for a second. Just like, what the hell's going on here? But anyway, back to this movie in general here. And I'm talking about this like it's a bad movie overall. It's really not. It's just another one of those movies where it's just like, there's not, kind of like within So It Goes, there's nothing really about it that makes it really stand out as anything that amazing. This is directed by the same person who did The American, which I thought was a really good, underrated George Clooney movie that came out a couple years ago. And the acting over here is fine, I guess. Philip Seymour Hoffman is pretty good in here. So is Rachel McAdams, doing more of an accent than what we're used to hearing her. And for the most part, it's done okay. Willem Dafoe's pretty good in here. Robin Wright, Daniel Bruhl. But the rest of the movie itself, though, is kind of boring. It moves way too slow. Like, it has a lot of problems that another movie similar to this will have later on in the year with Black Hat, where, I mean, it has some good ideas to it, but it's just a boring film to sit through, and nothing really intriguing happens in it. And in this case, yeah, nothing really intriguing happens here that we haven't seen done before. It's a movie where, I mean, the acting is fine. The rest of the movie really is not. It's just kind of a slow burn movie that really doesn't feel like it's there to give you anything in return in the end. It just kind of feels like it's kind of pointless overall. I mean, yeah, it's cool to see Philip Seymour Hoffman in one of his last movies before he passed away. But other than that, though, it's not one I'd recommend personally. So, with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that is Gabriel Iglesias' The Fluffy Movie, Unity Through Laughter.
What's up, you guys? This is Gabriel Iglesias wishing you a very happy Independence Day, happy 4th of July, whatever day you want it to be. It's Friday, it's check day as far as I'm concerned. So what are we going to do with that money? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to head down to your movie theater July 25th and check out the new Fluffy Movie starring Gabriel Iglesias. Why does he say it like that? Why can't he just say Gabriel? Because the name was actually Gabriel Iglesias, but most people can't say it that way, so we got to go with what we can. So check it out in theaters July 25th, and don't you forget to be safe out there with the fireworks.
But the movie doesn't come out until July 25th, so why couldn't you just wait to get your paycheck for that particular weekend to go see the movie? I mean, you see the problem here with this film and with the way they're marketing this film. But this is a stand-up comedy movie with Gabriel Iglesias, and, you know, this is a film that is taking a lot of inspiration from Eddie Murphy's Raw, which, you know, the comic, you know, Gabriel Iglesias himself was the inspiration for him to become a comedian. And the majority of the film is about him, you know, he's basically performing his act in San Jose, and, you know, you have the beginning kind of similar to how Eddie Murphy Raw opens up, where you have a flashback to, you know, his early life overall, and the thing that made him want to become a comedian, and then you have the comedy show itself. I mean, I guess for the fan base, it's perfectly fine, but personally, I was never really into Gabriel Iglesias' comedy. Not that I don't think the guy's a bad comedian per se. I just never really took an interest in it per se. I never really was like, okay, you know, this is somebody I should definitely I want to see a lot of good comedy from, like I would for Eddie Murphy or Dave Chappelle. But like, I just never really got in. I just never really really wanted to go see his comedy in general here. And watching this, I mean, it's fine, I guess. But again, it's something that I think is more suitable for Iglesias' fan base, because I think his fan base definitely would get a kick out of this film. But even then, it's not really something that I would say it's up there with some of the great stand-up comedy movies. I think there's been so many other better ones done by Richard Pryor, done by Dave Chappelle, done by Kevin Hart, done by, Steve Harvey and the original Kings of Comedy, that I think are done so much better. Martin Lawrence, I think, has done it a whole lot better. But other than that, though, I mean, it's fine, I guess. It's not the worst, but it's not the best either. And I think for, Gabriel Iglesias' fans in general, I think they'll get a kick out of it overall. But for me personally, I mean, I'm just not a big super fan of this overall, so just take that for what you will. But, yeah, overall, I don't think it's bad, but it's not really up to my style in general here. I'm not really much of a Gabriel Iglesias fan, so for me personally, I don't think it's something I would personally get a kick out of. But if you're a fan of Gabriel Iglesias, definitely give it a watch. I think it's definitely worth it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that's Woody Allen's latest film, and that is Magic in the Moonlight.
Debunker of fake spiritualists in the world.
She won't fool me.
I'm told she's very pleasant to look at. She's a visionary and efficient. You always have a little humbug.
You think you'll trick me into showing you how I deceive people?
The more I watch her, the more I'm stunned. I never dreamed you could look this beautiful.
You are proof that there's more mystery, more magic.
You can see the universe. It's menacing.
Menacing? I said it's very romantic.
Magic in the Moonlight, rated PG-13. Now playing only in theaters.
Needless to say, there ain't nothing too magical about this movie. It really literally feels like something that, we've kind of seen done before over and over again, and done in much better Woody Allen movies, like A Midnight in Paris. But, yeah, this, not one of his better ones. Wee Ling Soo, a.k.a. Stanley Crawford, played by Colin Firth, is a magician who has dedicated his life to revealing fraudulent spiritualists. He plans to quickly uncover the truth behind celebrated spiritualist Sophie Baker, played by Emma Stone, and her scheming mother, played by Marcia Gay Harden. However, the more time he spends with her, he starts thinking that she might actually be able to communicate with the other world, but even worse, he might be falling in love with her. Gee, this sounds a lot like other Woody Allen movies from the last couple of years, like aforementioned Midnight in Paris, and also a little bit of Scoop as well. Like, it feels like a movie that has been done to death before, and yeah, like I said, there ain't nothing really magical about it, but the cast, I think, is perfectly fine, and then Colin Firth and Emma Stone do at least have some good chemistry to them in this. But yeah, other than that, though, this really isn't something I would say is something that you'd want to watch if you want to see some of the best of Woody Allen's work. I mean, there's nothing really about it that makes it stand out, at all. It's not really an entertaining movie. It's not really one of Woody Allen's better films in general, and you expect so much more from him, but this, it just didn't work for me. So yeah, that's a hard skip on Magic in the Moonlight.